Hi everyone, and I welcome you all to today's class we are learning, we are understanding this fascinating, science, this fascinating knowledge of Vedic astrology. And since the last, 3, 4 classes, we had been unraveling the mystery of Varga charts, how we can calculate, how we can manually create, calculate the Varga charts. So, as of now, we had already covered the Hora chart, we had covered the Drishkana chart, we had covered the Saptamsha chart, we had covered the Navamsha chart, as well as we have covered the Dwadashamsha chart. So all of these Varga charts we have covered. Today it's time to create and calculate manually the Trimsamsa chart, the D30 chart. So again, the horoscope, the birth chart, the Lagna chart that we will use is the same Lagna chart that we had been using for all of these classes. It is the same Lagna chart, the same birth chart, which we had manually calculated and created, charted out in our initial classes of this mathematical astrology series, which started, I believe, from class 68. All right, so today now we are standing in class number 77, and it's time we understand about the creation of Trimsamsa chart. So Trimsamsa chart, just giving you a general overview, a very preliminary, at a very preliminary level, the understanding of Trimsamsa chart. So Trimsamsa chart, the D30 chart, is generally seen for overall miseries. It is seen and analyzed for understanding misfortunes at certain levels, and there are other factors also which we can analyze, interpret using the D30 chart. So this is all that you need to know right now, because I am not teaching you about the interpretations of all of these Varga charts. Right now what I am doing is I am teaching you how you can manually create these Varga charts, so that you do not have to be dependent on any third party astrological softwares, on any free online astrological softwares to give you this Varga charts for you for a particular birth detail, because there are definitely chances that it can be error prone. So doing all of these manually, creating all of this mathematically, as long as your mathematical calculations are correct, the charts that you will create, the charts that you will be charting out, will be absolutely accurate to the very, very minute second. And that's why your analysis is going to be even more correct, will be absolutely in the right direction. Also, that much amount of hard work we need to give in order to completely, dedicatedly do our horoscope analysis. All right, so let's now dive straight in to our Trimsamsa chart. So in Trimsamsa chart, this concept, like mathematically, the concept, it is a bit different when we understand the theory and the principle of the Trimsamsa chart. That is, as compared to the other Varga charts, what we had done. What is this particular difference, or slightly a bit, something, which is a bit not usual, which you have seen in the while calculating, while creating the other, divisional charts. Because here in Trimsamsa chart, we are using a rule. The rule is 55875 rule. 5 degree, 5 degree, 5 degree, 8 degree, 7 degree, 5 degree rule. How we are using this rule, each and everything I will teach you in this very video, in this very class, step by step. So from now onwards, you will also be able to create the Trimsamsa chart, like whenever you will be doing your practice or whenever you will be doing your consultations, you will also be able to do and create all of these things on your own. So you just have to remember this 55875, and then there are certain things you need to remember along with this particular rule. What are that? Let me unfold it to all of you. Now, suppose now here, similarly that we had done bifurcations of signs and divided that as odd and even when we came and when we did the Hora chart creation. I hope all of you remember that we had bifurcated each and everything as odd signs, even signs, and then there we were further dividing the signs into first Hora and the second Hora, which is either ruled by Moon and Mars, okay, and Moon and Sun, and exactly it was vice versa for the different category of sign. All right, so I'm sure you all will remember it very thoroughly. If in case you are very much like you have practiced that particular class of mine frequently, I'm sure you all will be remembering it. Similarly here also we are categorizing the signs as odd sign and even sign, or you can say odd Rashi or even Rashi, however way you want to label, however way you want to term and understand that. Okay, now the rule 55875, you have to write it. This particular table should always be there in front of you whenever you will be creating the Trimsamsa chart from the birth D1 chart. So this particular table, the rule, now here, don't focus on the lot. This is for my understanding. It is not essential for you to understand the lordship of this particular rules and the limits Rashi wise, means category wise, because this is not required when we are doing it mathematically. This is just a kind of a knowledge that I have written it like in my particular note. Again, the notes which I am using, these are my personal notes, these are my fair notes. Okay, all right. So the first column that you see is the rule that I had initially discussed, and I had communicated that there is a 55875 rule whenever you will be creating the Trimsamsa chart. So here, start from the very beginning. So these are basically the range of a particular limit. All right. So like similarly for like when you were dividing 30 degrees by a particular number, depending on that divisional chart, you were getting a range. And based on that range, you were creating the subsequent, divisions, whether 7 saptamshas or 9 navamshas, or you can say 12 dwadashamshas. So you were creating the ranges according to that, whether it is 3 drishkanas. It was all depending on that particular range which you were getting when you were dividing 30 degrees by a particular number. Now here, all of these rules are indicative of that particular range that we will be having in a limit. And suppose let's now focus, this is the odd Rashi. Now I'm focusing on the odd Rashi. So write the rule as 55875, these are degrees only. So this is like 5 degrees for the first limit. So the starting point, the starting degree will always be 0 degree, right? So it is 0 degree to 5 degrees. Then again add this 5 to this 5, you will get 5 degrees to 10 degrees. Then add 8 degrees to this 10 degree, you will get 10 degrees to 18 degrees. At 7 degree to 18 degrees, you will get 18 degrees to 25 degrees. And last, you are adding 5 degrees to 25 degrees, you are getting 25 to 30. And this is a concept which is now you must be absolutely and completely aware of it. That is, the end limit of a particular range, it becomes the starting limit of the next range. It means if the first, I'll say the first Trimsamsa of the odd Rashi, if it is ending at 5 degree, it means the second Trimsamsa of the odd Rashi will start at 5 degrees, and the range will be depending on the rule. We are just adding this to the last figure, to the last ending point of a particular limit, right? So mathematically, It is absolutely very simple to remember. If you remember the rule, if you just remember 55875, the limits, you will automatically, not automatically is not the right word, you will be able to create the limits very easily. All right, you do not have to even raise an eyebrow or create a frown in your forehead. It is so easy. All right, so now this is the limit now which I have for my Trimsamsa. 1 2 3 4 5 limits, or 5 ranges, or I can say 5 Trimsamsa for the odd Rashi. Now the first limit, 0 degree to 5 degree, is being ruled by Mars. And Mars is what? It's being ruled by the Aries sign. The second limit of the Trimsamsa for the odd Rashi, 5 degrees to 10 degrees, is being ruled by Saturn, that is the sign of Aquarius. The third Trimsamsa, 10 degrees to 18 degrees, it is being ruled by Jupiter, the sign is Sagittarius. The next range, the next limit, 18 degrees to 25 degrees, is being ruled by Gemini sign. Lordship is Mercury. And the last limit is 25 degrees to 30 degrees. It is being ruled by the sign of Libra, and the lordship of Libra, you all are aware of it, it is Venus. Alright, now so we have 5 different Trimsamsas, or 5 different limits of Trimsamsas. Again, it completely depends on however way you want to remember it, what will be your memory capsule. That is completely your uniqueness. In whatever way you want to remember it, as long as you are making it easy, you are making the learning more concrete and easy for you, you do it in that particular way. Just that the theory and the principles should be exactly the same, whatever you are seeing right now in front of your screen, and whatever I'm telling it to you right now at this very moment of time in this particular class, in whatever classes I had taken. The theory and the principle and the concept and the factual informations, the mathematical calculations, everything will remain the same. Now, however, what is your way of creating a memory, as your way of storing the information in your subconscious mind, how you are consciously able to access your subconscious mind, that is your uniqueness, and that completely will depend on you. All right, that is your learning style, and that is your way of understanding and analyzing information. Okay, now this is clear, this is complete. The Trimsamsas, the 5 Trimsamsas for the odd Rashis, now it is very much complete in front of you. I have explained to you exactly how you will be using it. Don't worry, we are going to cover that just after this. I have explained the table to you. We are going to do this, implement this practically when we will be creating the Trimsamsa chart. You will be able to figure it out, how you will be using whatever I'm trying to say to you right now. Now let's come to the even Rashi. The even Rashi, here you need to remember the rule is 55875. So the rule you can see for both the odd Rashi as well as the even Rashi, the labels are exactly the same, 55875. We are writing it from the top and we are going to the bottom. Now the only difference in the even Rashi is we are starting, or we are going from 0 from the last 5 degrees. So here we went, we started from here. In the even Rashi, we are going to start from here, if I want to tell it to you in a very simple way. So the first range of the Trimsamsa for the even Rashi, start from here. It will be again, everything starts from 0 degree, 0 to 5, because you are adding 5. Now add 5 to this 5, you get, now add 7 to 5, you get 12. So the second range, or the second limit, or the second Trimsamsa for the even Rashi will be 5 to 12. Now add 8 to 12, you get 20. The third Trimsamsa for the even Rashi will be 12 degrees to 20 degrees. The fourth, again, similarly add 5 to 20. The fourth Trimsamsa will be from 20 degrees to 25 degrees. And the last limit, or the last Trimsamsa range will be, again, you are adding 5 to 25. You are getting 25 degrees to 30 degrees. So mathematically, the concept is the same. It's just that for the odd Rashi, we are starting from here. And for the even Rashi, we are starting from here. That is the only difference, and you just do it mathematically. It is so much simple. All right, so now this is clear how we have created the limits for the event Rashi. Now, similarly, as we had a particular Rashi which is indicating or which is ruling a particular limit or particular Trimsamsa for the odd Rashis, similarly, we have the same concept for even Rashi also. If you want to start from here, start from here. So 0 degrees to 5 degrees, this will be for even Rashi. Remember, it's for even Rashi. This will be ruled by Taurus. The lordship is Venus. From 5 degree to 12 degrees, if it is a even Rashi, it will be ruled by Virgo. Lordship is Mercury. If the limit is from 12 degrees to 20 degrees, it will be ruled by Pisces. The lordship is Jupiter. If it is from 20 degrees to 25 degrees, the sign which will be ruling that limit is Capricorn, and the lordship is Saturn. And if it is from 25 degrees to 30 degrees, even Rashi, the sign which will be ruling that particular limit, or which will be representing, however way you want to say this, however way you want to remember it, it's just that these signs are representing or ruling or indicating or signifying, however way, whatever word you want to use. Feel completely free, all right, to use it in that particular way. So the last 25 degrees to 30 degrees will be represented, signified, indicated, ruled by the sign Scorpio. The lordship is Mars. All right. So now this particular table, it's a very simple table. You just have to create it on your own 2 to 3 times, and then you will find it very easy to remember it. Just if in case initially you are not able to mentally create and calculate the Trimsamsa chart, or for any other situations, for any other Varga charts, if you are unable to do it mentally in the initial stages, so you have to create the table, write the table in this particular Trimsamsa chart. For this particular table, you have to write it down, create that in front of you. Then you go ahead and then you create the Trimsamsa chart. It is going to take time, but if you follow a particular process, you will be very thorough, you will be very proficient after a particular point of time. So don't take shortcuts. If it is taking time, if it is a long road, if it is taking I'm so sorry. If it is taking time, it is perfectly okay, as long as your learning is very concrete. Your learning is very, very strong. That's what is important. Okay. So you need to have patience, and you need to practice it very, very religiously. Now this is one thing I had observed and unfolded while I was creating this particular table is, you can see here the planets which are representing the various limits of Trimsamsas are Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars. All right. See, everything is only this 5 planets. It's just that the signs are different. For odd Rashi, it is different. For the even Rashi, it's different, but the planets will be the same. Now, why it is only these, 5 planets? Why not Moon and why not Sun? This question should come into your head. The logical explanation is, all of these 5 planets, they have 2 Rashis which they are the ruler of, which they are the lord of. Like Mars is the lord of Aries and Scorpio. Saturn is the lord of Capricorn and Aquarius. Jupiter is the lord of Sagittarius and Pisces. Mercury is the lord of Gemini and Virgo. Venus is the lord of Taurus and Libra. So all of these 5 planets, they have 2 different Rashis which they are ruling. But Sun and Moon, they have only one Rashi. So as they have only one Rashi, they do not belong to this calculation. All right. So this is just a kind of a kind of a quiz question, a kind of an intellectual finding. Now let's come. This is the same birth chart which we had been using. Okay, nothing new in this. I'm sure you are all will be thorough with this birth chart by now, because every time, everywhere we are using this universal birth chart. We are using the same birth chart because we are trying to create the entire horoscope details of a particular birth detail. So here it means what? For the birth detail, that is, I'm just, swaying a bit from the topic of Trimsamsa, because I want to just share one very important, understanding with you. Because if you have the question that if you are asking me, suppose if you are sharing that in the comment section too, that why you are not using different birth charts or different divan charts for the creation of the Varga charts. Why you are using every Varga chart? It's the same birth chart that you are using. You can use just for a variety, for a for a kind of a difference, a feel of difference to the eyes and to the learning process. Why not use different birth charts? The reason is, this particular birth chart we had manually calculated, right? So we are dealing with a birth detail that is 31st of August 2024, 11:25 a.m. IST, that is the time of birth, and the place of birth is Delhi. So our objective, or my objective through all of these classes, was to teach you all that from that particular birth detail, a person came to you with that birth detail. Now, what are all the calculations? What are all the various creations you must manually do before you start with the horoscope interpretations, horoscope analysis, before you start with your prognosis? One is, you had successfully created, found out, calculated the ascendant rising. That is nothing but your lord of the first house, the first sign which is rising in the eastern horizon when that individual was born. All right, with this particular birth detail, that thing you found out first of all with that birth detail. The second thing which you found was, you found the different longitude. You found that first. Second thing was, you found the longitude of the ascendant, right? So now you had first thing that you calculated was the ascendant rising. What is that? Lordship of the first house. Second is, you manually calculated the longitude of the ascendant. The third thing, what you had done, like by learning from my classes, is you had been able to create the planetary positions and the planetary longitudes of the D1 chart for that birth detail. So now, after all of these things, your birth chart is complete, your D1 chart is complete. Now you have the longitude of all the planets, you know in which particular Rashi the planets are placed. So from that particular information, you should also be able to find out that a particular planet is placed in which particular nakshatra. Correct? You will also be able to find out what is the birth nakshatra of that individual. So all of these informations, now you are able to do it. You were able to do it by by creating, calculating, and using mathematical steps and theories and principles. The next thing what we had been doing is, we are creating the Varga charts, the D2, the D3, the D7, the D9, the D12. Now it is the D30, and next class we will do the D10. All of the Varga charts you are able to create from the birth chart of the same birth detail. 31st of August 2024, 11:25 a.m. IST, Delhi birth. So this is how you need to proceed. This is how you need to move forward whenever a birth detail should be coming to you. You have to do all of these calculations manually, then only you will be a proficient Vedic astrologer, rather than being too much reliant on astrological applications and softwares. You need to know the basics. These are the basics. Mathematical astrology wise, these are the basics. Whatever you had been learning from class 68. There are other topics too, but I am covering the essential topics of mathematical astrology which you should know, because you need to create all of these things and you need to have all of these things ready in front of you before you start with your horoscope analysis. All right, so I just deviated a bit from the topic. All right, I wanted to share that was a very important information. I had to lay it out so that you are very clear and you are absolutely aligned with my thought process. Okay, now let's come back to the Trimsamsa chart. Now let's go here and understand what is the Lord of the first house. The Lord of the first house is Libra, right? So Libra is an odd sign. Odd sign means we will look at this part of the table, odd Rashi. What is the longitude of the ascendant? It is 24 degree 18 minutes and 50 seconds. So 24 degree 18 minutes and 50 seconds, it is falling in this particular Trimsamsa limit, right? And it is being ruled by the planet Mercury and the sign is Gemini, right? Simple thing now. So that's why the Lord of the first house in the Trimsamsa chart is Gemini 3. So now you label all the other houses, the lordship of all the other houses accordingly. Or this is how now you were able to now find out. You found out. This is how you are able to find out what will be the Lagnesh of the Trimsamsa chart, the ascendant lord of the Trimsamsa chart. Now let's come to Saturn. Saturn is placed in the sign of Aquarius. So Aquarius is again the odd sign. We are again looking at this part of the table. The longitude of Saturn is 22 degree and 26 minutes. So 22 degree 26 minutes is falling here again in the sign of Gemini, right? Because 18 degree to 25 degree is falling in Gemini. So 22 degree 26 minutes is falling in Gemini. So Saturn will go here in Gemini. All right. Okay. Now Rahu is in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is even sign. So we are going to look at this part of the table. Longitude of Rahu is 12 degree 41 minutes. 12 degree 41 minutes is falling in this particular limit. So it is being ruled by Pisces. So Rahu will be going to Pisces in the Trimsamsa chart. Okay. Rahu goes to Pisces in the Trimsamsa chart. Jupiter, Taurus. Again, Taurus means we are looking at this part of the table, the even part of the table, even signs part of the table. The longitude of Jupiter is 24 degree 44 minutes. So 24 degree 44 minutes is falling here in this particular limit, and it is being ruled by Capricorn. So Jupiter goes in the sign of Capricorn in the Trimsamsa chart. Jupiter goes to Capricorn in Trimsamsa chart. All right. Now let's look at Mars. Mars is in the sign of Gemini. So it's the odd part of the table. The longitude of Mars is 3 degrees and 00 minute. 3 degree and 00 minute, it means it's the first limit, and Mars, it's being ruled by the sign Aries. So Mars will go to the sign of Aries in its own sign, in its Mool Trikona sign in the Trimsamsa chart. Mars goes to the sign of Aries. All right. Now let's look at Moon. So this is Moon and Mercury, both are even in the even sign, that is the sign of Cancer. So we are going to look at the even part of the Trimsamsa table, the chart, the table, what that you can see over here. The longitude of Moon is 12 degree and 24 minute. 12 degree and 24 minute is falling in this particular limit of the Trimsamsa of the even signs. So it is being ruled by Pisces. So Moon will go to in the sign of Pisces, right? in the Trimsamsa chart. Mercury longitude is 27 degree and 37 minutes. 27 degree 37 minutes is falling under here in this particular limit, is being ruled by Scorpio. So Mercury goes in the sign of Scorpio in the Trimsamsa chart. All right, here. Now we have Sun. The longitude of Sun is 14 degree and 07 minutes. So 14 degree 07 minutes, but here again it is in the odd sign. So we are going to look at the odd part of the table. 12 degree 14 degree and 07 minutes. 14 degree 07 minutes is falling in this particular limit. So it is being ruled by Sagittarius, number 9. So here Sun goes in the sign of Sagittarius in the Trimsamsa chart. Okay, now let's come to Venus and Ketu. So both Venus and Ketu are in the even sign. So we are going to look at the even part of this particular table. So here Venus, the longitude of Venus is 7 degree and 53 minutes. 7 degree and 53 minutes is in this particular limit, and it is being ruled by Virgo. So Venus will go in the sign of Virgo in the Trimsamsa chart, right? And then we have Ketu, whose longitude is 12 degree 41 minutes. So the longitude of Ketu is 12 degree 41 minutes, even sign, 12 degree 41 minutes. It is in this particular limit. It is being ruled by Pisces. So Ketu will go in the sign of Pisces, right? So from the D1 chart, we have successfully created our Trimsamsa chart using this particular table. The table which contains the theory also, and in a way it shows us how the planet is going to get placed in which particular Rashi. Okay. So this was all about how to manually create, chart out the Trimsamsa Varga chart, the D30 chart from the birth chart. So one more observation you must have done, I'm sure, or if not, then fine, have a look at this horoscope Trimsamsa chart and tell me something which is unique that you will not find in any other horoscope except the Hora chart. In Hora chart also something was common which is there in the Trimsamsa chart also. What is that particular thing? What is that information? What is that detail? It is in Trimsamsa chart also Rahu and Ketu are placed in the same house. So always you will find in the Hora chart as well as in the Trimsamsa chart, Rahu and Ketu are always placed in the same house. Or you can say Rahu and Ketu are always placed in the same sign. Remember this for knowledge. Now you have manually created, manually calculated the Hora chart also and the Trimsamsa chart also. Now you mathematically now you logically know, accurately why it is so. Because every time when you follow a particular theory, you follow a particular principle, Rahu and Ketu always gets placed in the same house, in the same sign for the Hora chart as well as for the Trimsamsa chart. It is absolutely universal in nature. Every situation, in every Hora chart, in every Trimsamsa chart, for any particular birth detail, Rahu and Ketu will always be in the same house. Alright, so this is a very, very important knowledge that you now have mathematically unfolded. Alright, congratulations for that. So that was it. That was all about class 77. Congratulations. Now you are able, now you will be, after a lot of practice, after watching this particular video of mine again and again, till you are absolutely thorough with this today's topic. And after that, once you have practiced it at your own, leisure time, or whatever time the time is convenient for you, with some other birth detail, As long as you have done all of these things, you will be able to successfully create every single time the Trimsamsa chart from the birth chart. So as of now, you should be able to create the Hora chart also. You should be able to create the Drishkana chart also. You should be able to create the Saptamsha chart also. You should be able to create the Dodashamsha chart also. You should be able to create the Navamsha chart also. And now from today's class, you have learnt about the Trimsamsa chart too. Alright. In the next class, this is the next class, will be the last Varga chart that I will teach you how you can mathematically calculate and create that as well. That is the Dashamsha chart, a very important divisional chart when we have to look at the finer aspects of the 10th house. 10th house of the D1 chart. It's a magnification, a microscopic view of the 10th house of the D1 chart. Very useful when we have to do prognosis of profession and professional areas. Alright. So thank you so much. I will see you in the next class. Thank you so much. Take care.